What if I told you that everything you want is truly already yours? That the only thing holding you back from experiencing your desires made manifest is your own ability to see what is unseen? I invite you to, for a moment, look around you. What you are experiencing right now is really just the echo of what you've been. But today I am going to show you how to step into your own divine power and claim what is rightfully yours. This isn't going to be some watered down, think positive message. This is the ancient, timeless truth that transforms your entire reality. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share next is going to change everything for you. It is scripture that tells us that things which are seen were not made of things which do appear. The visible world comes from the invisible, is what this means. Your physical reality, your daily life, is simply, truly, just a shadow, a projection of your own consciousness. But most people have it exactly backward. They look at these circumstances and then decide who they are based on what they see. But here is what is really happening. Everything you could possibly desire exists right now in an unseen state. Your job is not to create anything. It is exactly to claim what already exists and bring it into your visible experience through your own awareness. Now let me share something that I think is quite profound from these ancient masters. There's a passage that says, "Come to know what is in front of you, and that which is hidden from you will become clear to you, for there is nothing hidden that will not become manifest." Now again, this is from scripture, and it is not just spiritual poetry. It really reveals here what you could call the operating system of reality itself. When you truly begin to understand this passage, you realize that manifestation isn't about begging some external force. It's not about offering prayers to some deity in the sky. It is about aligning with the truth that you are the divine center of your universe, and everything flows from your own consciousness. And I'm going to show you exactly how to step into this power in a way that most teachers are completely missing nowadays. Here is why most people fail with manifestation, because they treat it like a technique, a formula to get stuff. They visualize, they affirm, they make these vision boards, they fall into all this superstition, but they're all doing it from a state of lack. And worse, they are completely ruled by their physical senses. They're a slave to their physical senses. Every time something shows up in their experience that doesn't match their desire, they instantly react to it. And by doing so, you really breathe life back into your old state, into your old story, the story that you are desiring to rewrite. When they're manifesting money, they see the empty bank account that they have and they exclaim, "I'm broke." When they look at their phone without seeing any messages, they think, well, nobody cares about me. And in that moment, when these thoughts arise and when they accept these thoughts as truth, well, in that exact moment, they're giving power to that very reality, to that old story, which, of course, they're really trying to change. I had a student who spent years trying to manifest healing for his stepbrother, who had been diagnosed with a very, very serious illness. And he tried everything. He tried positive thinking, he tried Reiki, energy healing, herbs, all these things. But nothing changed. Of course, this did not work because he did not understand this crucial truth. But he came to me and I explained it to him. And once he started to implement it, he became completely unmoved what his physical senses were showing him. He had to begin to see what was unseen. Now, instead of reacting to the medical reports of his stepbrother, to these physical symptoms, instead he began to simply know that his stepbrother was whole and perfect. Not as a future possibility, not as a result of something or other, some thing you can look at and say, well, it happened because of the herbs. It happened because of the Reiki. No, he just knew that it was already the case. Not as a future possibility, but as a present reality that was simply unseen by others. But he used his spiritual sight. He used his mind's eye to see what already was. Now, within weeks, the doctors were really, truly, they're out of their minds, because they even were beginning to say that it must have been a misdiagnosis, that he hadn't even had the disease to begin with. And other people call it a spontaneous remission. But there was nothing spontaneous about it, and it wasn't a misdiagnosis. It was this law of consciousness that was operating with precise power that made it so that it almost was like there never even was anything wrong with this person. That is how this law works. When you stick to the new truth that you've chosen, when you stick to the truth of this person that I love is perfectly healthy, the world around you will shape itself. It will show exactly, it will reflect this inner state that you've claimed with your own awareness. Not because of some tarot cards, not because of some crystals, not because of some energy healing, but because the power is within you. This is what I'm trying to teach, and this is what so many people just don't seem to get. At the core of this entire teaching, what I teach and what the mystics have been teaching for thousands of years is to get you to understand who you truly are. Again, the Bible, Scripture, tells us that the great I Am is your true identity, that God is not some distant deity. It is the divine awareness that's listening to these words right now. That is what God is. When you declare, I am wealthy, you are not trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. You're not trying to gaslight yourself. You're not trying to lie to yourself. You truly are simply awakening to your own divine nature that transcends all material conditions. Think about this for just a moment. I'm sure that you're aware of the story of Moses, who asked God for his name, and God simply replied, I am that I am. Now, this is your name, and you are using this same creative principle every time you make an I am declaration. And these I am declarations don't have to be audible, they can be silent, because the poor man is aware of his own poverty without having to say the specific words, I am poor. And so this is where most people go wrong. They say, I am wealthy while feeling poor. They say, I am wealthy while being aware of poverty. They say, I am loved while feeling rejected. They say, I am healthy while feeling sick. And it is this contradiction that creates an inner conflict that blocks all manifestation. And this is why these New Age teachings, like the law of attraction, just don't work for people. You have to go back to these older teachers who actually knew what they were talking about. The key here is to occupy the state of already having what you desire. Not as an affirmation, but really as a recognition of what already is true in the unseen realm. That is what this lesson is all about, seeing the unseen. When you claim that I am all that is, I am love, I am beauty, I'm pure energy, I'm thriving, I'm vibrant, everything works for me, everything goes my way. If you live from this understanding, it's not about just some false positive thinking you're practicing here. You're aligning with ultimate reality. Let me tell you about another student I had not too long ago who was trying to manifest this new opportunity in his career. And he'd been trying to do so for months without any success. But when I worked with him, I helped him see that he was still identifying with his old story of struggle and rejection. And so each morning, he began practicing this very simple but powerful ritual of declaring his true I am identity. Not as someone just hoping for some success, but truly as success itself in human form. Within days, it took him, if I recall correctly, 2 or 3 days at most, someone from his network reached out about a position that he hadn't even applied for. And the hiring managers told him, for some reason, your name came up and it kept coming up and we just felt you were perfect for the role. And that is exactly this power that I'm trying to tell you about here. And so once you really begin to live from this new state, once you really understand these teachings and begin to apply them, and I do truly invite you to apply them, because too many people just listen to this and they never actually apply it. If you would just try this, I guarantee your life will never be the same. It won't be. I know it. My dozens and dozens of students know it. This is the power. So let's get practical, because again, that's what I'm all about. I'm all about practicality. Theory is great. I love theory. I love concepts, but it's all useless without practice. How do you actually see the unseen and make it manifest? That's the question I get from my students. And I will tell you right here. The answer lies in what scripture calls and the ancient mystic teachers call the single eye. Sometimes this is referred to as the third eye, but really it is the first eye. And your other two physical eyes are the second and third. Because the first eye, the single eye, the primary eye, is the eye that came before. It is the most powerful eye. It is the eternal eye. That is why you'll find so much eye symbolism in all the content I post. When your eye is single, this means your attention is undivided between the seen and the unseen. Your whole body, your whole mind fills with light of the new state. Here's a practice that transforms your reality almost immediately. Whenever you notice yourself reacting to unwanted physical circumstances, stop immediately and instead shift your vision inward to this perfect reality where everything is already as you desire it to be. I call this the mind's eye practice. And it works like this. Close your physical eyes for a moment and see yourself looking out over your ideal kingdom of fulfilled desires. See yourself casually observing how perfectly everything is working out for you. And feel the absolute certainty that everything you want is already yours. Another one of my students was facing eviction from his home, and he couldn't see a way out of his financial troubles. And so I gave him this practice, he committed to it, and his vision turned inward every time he felt this panic, this frustration, this emotional and mental turmoil whenever he thought or was confronted with a situation. But instead of reacting to these past due notices, he would close his eyes and see himself very comfortably settled in a beautiful, lovely, amazing home that was just perfect for him. That had all the things he wanted. He wanted a nice garden. He didn't want any noisy neighbors. He wanted a nice new heating system. And so he wanted to look at his bank statements with satisfaction instead of pure horror and terror. And so he did this. And within 3 weeks, there was someone he hadn't spoken to in years that called to reconnect. And during their conversation, my student mentioned this situation casually, without desperation, not trying to get anything from this person, not trying to get this person to offer him some solution, but instead this person that called him immediately offered to cover his back rent and to grant him a deposit on a new place, and that he would be happy to help. And so that is exactly what happened. And was this luck? Was this coincidence? No. This, again, is the perfect operation of this law, the law of mind, the law of mentalism, the law of consciousness. When you refuse to give life to these dead circumstances and instead place your attention, your single eye on what is unseen, you give life to the unseen and you stop resurrecting the dead. So here's what this all comes down to. It comes down to making a decision. Most people are stuck in this continual deliberation, weighing options and wondering if they are making the right choice. They have these doubts. They don't know what to do. But the word decision comes from Latin and it means to cut off. When you truly decide, you cut out all other possibilities. And in this case, you cut out the old story. The story where you were poor, the story where you were unloved, the story where you're about to be evicted from your house. You all cut this off. You cut off the life force, the breath the nutrients to these old stories. And so I urge you, just decide, cut off what you don't want, decide and turn your eye, your singular eye, your eye of power, your eye of divinity, turn it completely on the new person you want to be, on the thing you want to have. Not in some distant future, but now, here. This is where the power happens. Your reality is waiting for you to make a clear decision about who you are and what is true for you. Not tomorrow, not when circumstances change, right now. The moment you truly decide, this is who I am, this is what's true, the entire universe reorganizes itself to match that decision. But here's the challenge that people face. Can you make that decision once and stand by it regardless of what your senses tell you? Can you be like that child who knows that they're going to receive a lovely gift on Christmas, even though they have no physical evidence for this at all? The child doesn't wake up each morning wondering if Santa is real and if he's really going to get his present or not. There's no doubt, there's no questioning, just pure expectation and excitement. So this is the ultimate secret to manifesting. You must live from the end, not for the end, which is what almost everyone does. Most people are working toward their desires. They see themselves as moving from point A to point B, but the true masters of manifestation live as if they're already at point B, because guess what they are? Think about how you behave when you already have something. Let's say right now you have a beautiful home. You don't wake up every day obsessing about getting a house. You simply live in it, you enjoy it. Maybe you think about some improvements you'd like to make now and then, but there's no desperate energy, no sense of lack. And this is exactly how you must approach everything you desire, as if it's already yours in the unseen realm. And your job is simply to enjoy it before it appears physically. There is this truly, I think, one of the most beautiful pieces in scripture that says, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Now, most people miss the profound truth in these words. Faith isn't just believing something will happen. It is recognizing that the thing hoped for already has substance in the unseen realm. Your faith is the evidence of its reality. Like, tattoo this somewhere on your body, because it's so important. One of my students really mastered this principle with remarkable results. She was looking to manifest love, and she'd been single for years and years after breaking up with her ex-husband. And so she wanted to really experience a loving relationship instead of desperately dating, using these dating sites that are horrible and constantly affirming my perfect partner is coming. Instead of doing all of this, instead she began living as if her ideal relationship already existed. And she embraced this truth in the unseen. In the unseen, it wasn't a question of, this is just pretend. In the unseen, it was simply so. Now, what she would do, as soon as she had accepted this new state of being, she would make some new space in her closet. She would get some new bathroom supplies, a second toothbrush, a second pair of toothpaste, all these things to ensure that her house was ready for a second person to live there. And not from, again, some desperation of, well, if I do this, then maybe it will manifest. No, she already had the partner in her mind. She already accepted it into her soul. So she did this not from a place of pretending, but from a genuine place of recognition that in the unseen realm, this relationship already existed. And within a month, she met someone that really matched her desires so precisely that it almost seemed impossible. Before this, her ex-husband, she had settled for a man that was not perfect by any means, but she settled because simply she thought she would never find someone better. But this new man appeared that was literally almost out of a fairy tale. And they began dating, and he told her, I feel like I've known you forever. And in this realm of the unseen, they had indeed known each other all along. So as we begin to wrap up this lesson, I want you to understand something that I think is very profound. that your power isn't in what you do, it is in who you are being. When you claim your divine identity as the I am, when you see what is unseen with unwavering faith, when you make a clear decision and live from the end result, your entire reality transforms around you. This isn't about getting things. It's really about awakening to your true nature as the creator of your experience. And the ancient mystics, they understood this. The scriptures, they point to it. They're filled with these lessons. And now you have the same understanding to apply it in your life. Starting today, refuse to react to unwanted circumstances. Instead, see what is unseen. Make your decision once and stand by it. Live from the end, not for the end. Claim your divine I am identity without apology, with confidence, with power. Remember, what appears in your life right now is just the shadow of who you've been. But the moment you change who you're being, in consciousness, in your mind, everything around you must change as well. It's not magic, it's law. Now, this is just one video in this series of awakening to your true nature. On screen right now, you'll find another lesson that fits perfectly with this one and will enhance your understanding even more. Thank you for being here. Until next time.